I want to start off by saying I know it's early in the season, but even with that said, I didn't expect this or these type of things to go on so far in the season. Now, so far we've, Clippers have played 4 games in the season. They're 2-2, I believe, right now, and they just played the Thunder, lost to them. Kawhi didn't play due to knee stiffness, and they lost that game there. They were very shorthanded, and they actually play, the Thunder. We actually played the Thunder twice, in regards to, Kawhi, not being there, the knee stiffness and everything like that. But right now, I think they played, 4 or 5 games, all together. But the point is, I'm really not intrigued by the fact that Ty Lue is not giving Brandon Boston Jr. more of a run. I think Brandon Boston Jr. is a real good aspect, a real good quality piece to their team. And I think he's the type of piece to their team that can, surprise other teams as being, somebody to come off the bench that can really give them some good minutes. And I like Brandon Boston because I like, his energy. He goes out there. He tries really hard on defense. He's not a great defender, but he tries really hard on defense. He's got a long wingspan. He can cause some turnovers, I believe. I've seen him do it a few games, last year, of course. And like I said, with his length and his skill, his all-around skill, I think Ty Lue is making a mistake by not giving a guy like him a chance. And then I think, Amir Coffey, up until the one game against the Thunder where he had like 20 plus minutes, I think he had like 26 minutes where he played. Up until that, he really didn't get no minutes himself, really. I mean, I saw one game, I think against the Kings, where he got like 5 minutes and maybe 6 minutes in another game or something like that. But as far as like Brandon Boston, there's been a couple games this season already where he wasn't even in the rotation. And I just think that, Ty Lue, okay, let's just start off by saying this. I definitely understand the Clippers have a lot of talent in all positions, and it's only one basketball on the court. It's hard to get everybody the touches. It's hard to get everybody involved. It's hard to, make sure everybody eats and, and everything like that. But Ty Lue definitely has to find a way to get Brandon Boston into this rotation somehow, because I just think that he is a very young, talented player, and you want to get him, comfortable more and more with this offense, more and more with this team, and more playing time. You want to give him those things because honestly, he's probably the future of the Clippers after Paul, after Kawhi, after Kawhi, Paul George, Ty Lue, not Ty Lue, but John Wall. I mean, he's probably the future of this team, and if he's the future of the team, you've got to feature him. You can't let him sit on the bench and, not develop his skills the way he should, because he's definitely a valuable piece of this team. I mean, and no doubt that he's the future to the Clippers if they keep him, because he has a very bright upside. And like I said, the fact that he can handle the ball, he can shoot pretty good, he can get to the rim pretty decently. And on top of that, he's got a little flashiness to his game as well. So, I mean, he could be a star player for the Clippers in the future. And I just don't see why the Clippers won't implement him in there. I mean, honestly, I actually want them to implement Brandon Boston more than I want them to implement Amir Coffey. And even though I think Amir Coffey is really good, I think he's one of their best young players on the team. I mean, of course, it goes Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, Brandon Boston, and then Amir Coffey. That's my order of the young players that they have. So me personally, I just think that, Ty Lue, I mean, I feel like he will eventually put them in there and stuff like that and give them more of a run. But if Brandon Boston is going to get very minimal minutes and be out of the rotation a lot of nights and not even get no time, I just think that's a waste. I think that's a waste of having a young potential talented player on the bench that you want to develop, because you want him to develop as well, because Brandon Boston can turn into a weapon that they might need in the playoffs that nobody's thinking about, because Brandon Boston is one of those players that he's one of those like wing players that can extend offensive plays, because let's hypothetically say Reggie Jackson, I'm just going to use him as an example. Let's say he comes down the court, he's playing the point guard position. He runs down the court, take a three, and Zubac gets the rebound. Kawhi Leonard's, guarded. So is Paul George. And, maybe John Wall sit on the bench or something like that. And they need to, the paint is crowded as well. Well, the person that he can kick it out to, that they can trust, that I feel like that they will be able to trust going forward to knock down big shots for them and not be afraid to take big shots for them, is a Brandon Boston. Because we've seen him come in and play substantial minutes last year. We've seen a lot of their role players do that last year due to the fact that Kawhi was out the whole season and PG was out half of it. We saw them come in and log in really good minutes and play substantial basketball, meaningful basketball, and win, a lot of those games that a lot of people thought they would lose. I mean, they had at least 3 or 4 games down 25 plus points last year, and they came back and won all 4 of those games without Kawhi and PG services. So this is my thing. You have a young nucleus, you have a young core there that you need to start really putting into place and allowing them to flourish throughout this season, and don't just put them in just because Kawhi is not playing or PG is out for a game or 2. I don't want to see Ty Lue do that. I want to see him give these guys some run while Kawhi and PG is out there, because I don't care if you put the young guys, the Brandon Boston, Amir Coffey, all of them, you put Diabate too. He's one I want to see as well. But if you put these young guys in only when the game is out of contention, when they're up by 30, when only when, Kawhi or PG is sitting out a game, due to maybe knee stiffness, load management, whatever you want to call it. If you're only going to put them in, then you're really not developing them the way you should. You're really not giving them the opportunity to, better their skills, better their livelihood in regards to, playing the game and being in it, and, bettering their livelihood in regards to them getting a bigger contract too. That plays a big factor too. The more you play, the more you put out, the bigger the contract they could sign for you. And I know every young player is looking for a big payday. I mean, that's a part of the reason why they come to the NBA, not just to play the sport, because they love it. And they do. They want to be in the NBA. They want to be a part of the, the association. But at the same time, they also want to get paid and take care of their family. And, in order for them to do that, the only way they can do that is to have the opportunity to go out there and perform at the highest level possible so they can do those things. And this is my point. I feel like Ty Lue is, sacrificing players like Brandon Boston and Amir Coffey's services, because he's really just trying to appeal to his starting lineup and, get John Wall so acclimated and everything, which that's the right thing to do. You want John Wall to get acclimated and stuff like that, but you also want to play your other guys, because those other guys were there before John Wall was. Those other guys were grinding every single night last year and year before that, and this year they're starting off, they're grinding as much as they can, to get playing time and log in minutes and things like that, because they deserve that opportunity. And like I said, the Clippers, it's only one basketball on the court. I do understand that, but at the same time, to me, Ty Lue can be more concise with his starting lineup and be a little bit more, loose with his, backup lineups. To me, I mean, I think that to me, that's probably the best way to coach this team, if you ask me, I guess, in regards to how much talent they have. Because when you have this much talent on the team, it's hard to really get everybody an opportunity to score, because it's tough. And I'm not saying that it isn't, but Ty Lue has to find a way, because you've got way too much talent sitting on that bench to where, honestly, if Kawhi or somebody chooses to sit out, you have enough talent to still continue to win games, almost as if, everybody's fully healthy. That's how much depth this team have. And the only way this depth is really going to show its face and play at a high level is to give these guys opportunity to do so. And if that's going to, if that's going to happen, then Ty Lue has to make that happen. And like I said, I personally just think that Brandon Boston, more so than any other young player, deserves some time, because this kid really showed what type of upside he had, and everybody was impressed by the upside that he's shown within the last season or two since he's been here with the Clippers. And I think that they should show him a little bit more promise and allowing him to play a little bit more, because I was actually anticipating seeing him play a lot more this year. I mean, even if he took some of Amir Coffey's minutes from last year or whatever the case may be, I just expect to see him more, period. Maybe they don't even have to take anybody everybody's minutes. Maybe it doesn't even have to result in that, but I just expect to see him more. And like I said, it's early in the season. I mean, we got a long way to go, so I'm not gonna say that he's not gonna get the time and everything like that, to get his feet wet and everything. But my point is, I'm putting out this video because I'm getting these tweets, and I've gotten some things about in my DMs specifically about Brandon Boston. Like, why do I think they're not playing him, and why do I think they're not giving him the opportunity? And like I said, it is still early in the season. I do understand that, but I'm making this video because I'm kind of concerned now myself, because I just don't know what Ty Lue is doing. I don't know what his plan is, in regards to how he's going to use all these players. So me putting this video out now, I'm just hoping that in the future of this season that he's starting to get a little bit more traction and playing time, because I think he can definitely help the Clippers out a lot. You see what I'm saying? Because there's times where, the offense is stagnant and they need, some fresh blood in there, fresh young legs in there who can come in there and give them a spark, give them some energy, and somebody like Brandon Boston who could score. So if you put him, let's hypothetically say, Ty Lue took out the whole starting lineup in the mid-second quarter and put in, all his reserves. You see what I'm saying? Ty Lue has the option to do that because his team is so deep and so loaded, it really doesn't matter, because if he took out all the starters, hypothetically, in mid-second quarter of a game, and they all sat down and took a rest, and he put in all role players off the bench, they would still be fine, because hypothetically, there are 5 players coming off their bench that should get rotational minutes. To me, is of course Norman Powell, Robert Covington, when both of them or one of them was not in the starting lineup, and then you'd have Brandon Boston. Let's see, you got I think Luke Kennard, and then Terrence Mann. That should be like hypothetically, if Ty Lue actually took his whole starting lineup out, that should be the 5 that he puts on the floor at first, and see what that 5 does. And then, you can interchange that a little bit between minutes. You can throw maybe, like I say, you can throw an Amir Coffey in there. You can throw, Jason Preston in there, definitely throw in Diabate. I definitely want to see him as well. I want to see him almost just as much as I want to see, Brandon Boston. Matter of fact, I might actually, take Terrence Mann out of that 5 I just said and put Diabate in there, because I definitely want to see his energy and how it carries over from game after game after game, because the fact that they don't, have Hardenstein anymore, and he's not, don't get me wrong, Hardenstein was never any superstar type player or anything like that, but he really played a really significant role for the Clippers, because he was exactly what they needed off the bench to counteract what Zubac doesn't do at times, which is play with that, edge, fierceness, and give him that energy, that spark, that lift. He was kind of that player that they had to do that, and that's exactly what I think Moussa Diabate is, that same type player, except more athletic and more exciting to watch, rather than Isaiah Hartenstein. So I definitely want to see him get playing time too, but they're going to have to really figure this out and really kind of, like I said before in my previous video, Ty Lue's going to have to be more concise with his lineups. He's going to have to know his direction going into games. It just looks like to me with the Clippers, there is a lot of confusion with Ty Lue, because he has so many toys and options to play with, and I definitely understand that. That's a good problem to have. I'm not saying that it's not, but what I'm saying is when you're more concise with your lineups, knowing who you want to go to, know who your options are, know what guy you want here, there, here, there, like that, it definitely works a lot better in your favor, and the team is a lot more consistent, and the chemistry grows quicker that way, rather than just, playing with interchangeable lineups, because you have so many different people and so many different pieces. Play him one night, sit him down a few nights, play somebody else, and then that's just a little bit too much. So, I mean, he should really have more, continuity with his lineups and understanding of who he needs to go to coming off the bench when the starters sit down, and who is the most valuable coming off the bench, who can contribute the most here, there, who contributes the most on the offensive end, defensive end. He should have all these things like in his head by now. And this is my point. These things can get better. And like I said, I just want Ty Lue to find a way to get those other guys some playing time, because they're going to need it. And on top of that, I want to see a lot more from them as well, because as I said, this is going to take a collective effort from everybody on this team to win a championship. It's not just going to be Kawhi. It's not just going to be PG. They're going to have off nights. They're going to hurt some nights. There's nights they're going to be sitting out. There's going to be nights where, they just can't go, or they just trying to be extra precautious with Kawhi's knee just because it's Kawhi. And we understand all that. But with that being said, these other guys have to be ready to step in and do their part. And if they're just sitting on the bench this season, keeping the bench warm and not really seeing the time that a lot of people believe that some of these players should be getting, then you might have a real issue when it comes playoff time, because they're not going to be ready to perform at the highest level that you feel like they should. And on top of that, they might not perform the way they did last year without Kawhi and PG being there most of or all the season last year. So, you want to get them in rhythm, you want to get them acclimated, but you want to keep them interested. And that's the one thing I think a lot of NBA coaches or coaches in sports in general don't really realize. The guys on the bench, as acclimated as they feel, the better they'll play and the more comfortable they'll be when you put them in there, when you insert them in the lineup. Because if hypothetically, let's say this, if he kept Brandon Boston out of the rotation for the next 10 to 12 games and put BBJ in maybe, let's say 13 games down the road, hypothetically, let's just hypothetically say, if he does that, what type of rhythm is Brandon Boston going to have? How can he really contribute to the Clippers at a high level when he doesn't even get any playing time and he's not really developing his skills except playing in practice and, pickup games, outside of the real games that they play on TV? So it's just not a good recipe for success when you have a young player like him who can really contribute. I mean, some nights I'm looking at a team like when they lost to the Phoenix Suns, hypothetically, if the Clippers really, took somebody like Brandon Boston and really, gave him a lot more minutes in a game like that, who knows, maybe the outcome could have been a little bit different, because maybe he could have gave them a little bit more of a spark, when they needed it, when they didn't, come through with the victory in that game. I think he only played like 3 minutes that game. 3 minutes is not good enough for Brandon Boston. Brandon Boston at least needs about 10 to 14 minutes per game. He at least needs that. And as I said before, it's a lot of talent on this team. I do understand that, but there's ways to, keep everybody engaged and keep everybody contributing. There's ways to do it. Ty Lue's just gonna have to figure that out and really implement that and put that together if this team wants to go far as everybody's projecting them to go. But the good thing for Ty Lue and the Clippers, there's plenty of time. It's only 6 games in the season at most, so you still have about 70 plus games to go. So hopefully the Clippers figure it out and put it all together, and let's see what the end result is. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check my other videos if you haven't. And hey, Khaliis.